You ever notice how the loneliest ones, the ones who walk this world without a single hand to hold, are the ones who seem untouchable? It's not because they don't crave connection. It's because they learn through fire, through pain, that in a world built on deception, the only truth they could trust was themselves. See, people will smile in your face, shake your hand with warmth, and the second you turn around, they'll sharpen the knife. They'll laugh with you today, then whisper about you tomorrow. That's the game, and most don't even realize they're playing it. But a man with no friends, he sees it for what it is. He doesn't have to wonder who's real and who's fake, because there's no one left to question. They say loneliness is a curse, but maybe, just maybe, it's the greatest armor a man can wear. No betrayals, no disappointments, no one to pull you down when you start to rise. When you stand alone, every victory is yours and yours alone. No one can claim they helped you. No one can take credit for your strength. And most importantly, no one can take it away from you. See, when a man walks without friends, he walks with clarity. No distractions, no need for approval, just a path. His path, cutting through the noise of the world. And when the world sees a man like that, they don't understand him. They fear him because they know. A man who needs no one is a man who cannot be controlled. People will tell you, you need friends, you need love, you need companionship. But look around. How many of those so-called friendships are built on something real? How many of them would truly stand in the storm with you? Most would run. Most would leave. But a man who stands alone never has to worry about who will stay. You know what they don't tell you? They don't tell you that trust, real trust, the kind that doesn't shake when the ground splits beneath you, it's not found in friendships, in smiles, or in the sweet sound of someone saying, I got your back. No, that kind of trust, that kind of truth, is only found in solitude, when the noise fades, when the phone doesn't ring, when the room is quiet and the only voice you hear is your own. And sometimes even that voice feels like a strain. You see, people grow up thinking the more friends you have, the more secure you are. Like security comes in the form of birthday parties, clinking glasses, or group photos with forced smiles. But what they don't realize is, all of that, it can disappear. Like that snap, it's gone, and then what? Who are you when the laughter stops? Who are you when the people you called family walk away without a second thought? That's when you find out what you're really made of. That's when trust begins to take shape, not in them, but in you. Because the only person who's been there for every heartbreak, every betrayal, every night you couldn't sleep, every time you wanted to scream but didn't, was you. You. And that version of you, the one that survives the silence, that version is unshakable. You didn't fall apart. You didn't run, you stood there, eyes wide open, alone, and you made it through. Let me tell you something. Solitude, it ain't a punishment, it's a teacher. The kind that doesn't sugarcoat, the kind that slaps you in the face and whispers, pay attention. And when you finally do, you learn. You learn that not everybody who says, I love you, means it. That loyalty is a word people like to throw around but rarely live up to. You learn that when things get heavy, most people drop what they're carrying, including you. But when you're alone, you carry it all, and you get stronger because of it. You know why people fear being alone? Because in the silence, the mask comes off. The truth shows up, and most can't handle it. They need the noise, the distractions, the crowd, but you sit in that silence like a king sits on his throne, unbothered, untouched. Because once you trust yourself, truly trust yourself, there is nothing anyone can take from you. Not your peace, not your purpose, not your power. People say trust is earned. I say it's built, brick by brick, in the dark. When no one's watching, when you're bleeding and no one's handing you a bandage, when you're screaming inside but smiling on the outside just to get through the day. That's where trust lives. Not in the cheers, but in the silence after the curtain falls. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where you face yourself. You know what the crowd never understands? A man who walks alone doesn't do it because he wants to be above anyone. He does it because he's tired of being below people who never deserved him. He learned the hard way that sometimes the closest ones cut the deepest, that not all hugs are warm, some are suffocating, that not all friends are friends. Some are just well-dressed distractions, waiting for the right moment to show their true face. And when the smoke clears, when the masks drop, and you're standing in that wreckage, you realize the only hand you can count on is the one at the end of your own arm. That's where trust is born. That's where it lives. In the man who stood when he had every reason to fall. In the soul that kept going when the world said, "You're finished." So yeah, maybe you don't have a circle. Maybe the phone don't buzz like it used to. Maybe no one asks how you're really doing. But you know what you do have? You've got something most people spend their whole lives searching for. Self-trust. And once you have that, you're not just secure, you're unstoppable. Funny thing about this world, they tell you to open up, to love hard, to trust deep. Let people in, they say. Let them see the real you. But what they don't say, what they never say, is what happens when those same people take what you gave them and crush it. Not by accident. No, deliberately, with a smile, with sweet words still on their lips. That's betrayal. And once you've tasted it, once you've felt that knife in your back, something inside you changes forever. You stop looking at people the same. You stop chasing validation. You stop giving pieces of yourself away for free. Because every piece you gave out, they didn't treasure it. They took it, used it, then tossed it like it meant nothing. So now you start building something different. Not walls. No, walls are too obvious, too easy to climb. What you build is armor, a new skin, one forged in silence, in nights where no one checked in moments where your own shadow felt like your only friend. Loneliness, it doesn't feel good. Let's not pretend it does. It's cold, it's heavy, it makes the air thick and the nights longer. But over time, you learn to wear it. You learn that loneliness doesn't weaken you, it toughens you. Because when there's no one left to catch you, you learn to fall on your own 2 feet. You learn to stop expecting, stop hoping, stop needing. And suddenly, that feeling you once ran from becomes your armor. It becomes the reason you walk with your head up and your guard higher. See, people fear being alone. They treat it like a disease. They run to fake friendships, cling to toxic love just to avoid it. But when you've been through enough, you realize loneliness is peace. Loneliness doesn't lie to you, doesn't cheat, doesn't pretend. It's honest, brutally honest. And yeah, it hurts, but it never betrays you. Not like people do. They say you've changed. Damn right you did. You had to. You were too soft, too open, too trusting. And they took that kindness and tried to kill it. But instead of dying, you adapted. You evolved. Now, you don't let people in so easy. Now, you don't believe every sweet word. Now you trust patterns, not promises. And in that cold silence, you found something most never will. Strength. Real strength. The kind that doesn't come from applause, or company, or compliments. It comes from surviving what was meant to break you. From waking up alone and still choosing to rise. From being surrounded by fakes and still keeping it real. That's the kind of strength no one can fake. No one. You know what else happens when loneliness becomes armor? You become a mystery. People can't read you like they used to. Can't play you like they thought they could. You're not loud. You're not desperate. You're dangerous in the most silent way. Because the man who stands alone, he's the one they can't control. He's the one who's got nothing left to lose. And that makes him the most powerful man in the room. The betrayal, it burned. But the fire didn't destroy you, it forged you. Now your skin is thicker, your eyes see clearer, and your heart? It beats slower, steadier, wiser. You don't trust easy, you don't love quick, but when you do, it's real, because you know the cost, you paid it in pain, and you don't hand out what you bled for. Let the world call you cold, let them say you're distant, let them misunderstand. That's fine, because the truth, they don't know what it took for you to become this version of you. They don't know the nights you had to fight just to breathe, the mornings you got up with no reason except the fact that you refused to stay down. That's what they'll never see. But you know that loneliness didn't break you, it built you. And now that it's your armor, you wear it with pride. Not because you don't feel, but because you finally learned who's worth feeling for. And in a world full of betrayal, that kind of wisdom, that kind of protection, it's everything. You ever try to think straight in a crowd? It's chaos. Voices pulling you every direction. Everyone's got an opinion, everyone's got advice, everyone wants to be the loudest, like volume makes them right. And you're stuck in the middle of it, trying to hear yourself think while the world is screaming. That's what life feels like when you're surrounded all the time. And that's why walking alone becomes the only way to really see, to really hear, to really know what's real and what's just noise. See, when you're always with people, you start absorbing pieces of them, their fears, their doubts, their insecurities. You start moving the way they move, talking like them, thinking like them. And before you know it, you've lost track of who you were in the first place. That's the danger. That's the trap. They don't even mean to do it, but they shape you, they mold you. And they don't even ask for permission. But when you walk alone, everything changes. The silence gets loud, sure. Loud enough to hear your own mind again. Loud enough to feel every beat of your own heart. And it's in that silence that the fog starts to clear. You start remembering what you want, what you believe, what matters to you, not what you've been told should matter. That's where clarity lives. Not in the noise, not in the comfort, but in the stillness of your own damn footsteps. People think walking alone means being lost. Nah, it means you've done being led. It means you've stopped following trails carved by people who don't even know where they're going. It means you've decided that if you're gonna fall, it's gonna be on your terms. If you're gonna rise, it'll be because of your choices, no one else. You ever notice how clear the sky looks when the city lights aren't drowning it out? That's what walking alone does to your mind. It strips away the distractions, the fake friends, the half-hearted lovers, the people who only show up when they need something. It takes all that background noise and hits mute. And suddenly you can see the stars again. You can see you again. The truth is, walking alone forces you to face everything you've been running from. The pain, the mistakes, the regrets. It doesn't let you hide. But here's the twist. When you stop running, you stop being afraid. And when you stop being afraid, you start focusing on the mission, on the vision, on the climb. You stop chasing attention, you stop chasing applause, you start chasing results. You move in silence, you build in the dark, and when you finally show the world what you've been working on, they'll ask, "Where the hell did this come from?" And you'll smile, because while they were busy talking, you were busy building. That's what walking alone gives you. Focus, real focus. Not the kind that lasts 5 minutes before a text notification steals it. I'm talking about tunnel vision, locked in, eyes forward, mind clear, no distractions, no fake handshakes, no side commentary, just you and the grind. People fear solitude because it means taking responsibility. It means if you fail, there's no one to blame. But that's the beauty of it. That's the power. When it's just you, your victories are yours. Your discipline is yours. Your success, that's built by your hand. Every scar, every sleepless night, every silent breakthrough, That's your story. No one else gets to claim it. So yeah, walking alone might be lonely at first, might feel like the world forgot about you, but it didn't. It just gave you space to remember who the hell you are. And once you find that version of you, the one that doesn't need approval, doesn't need permission, doesn't need backup, that version becomes unstoppable. They'll say you've changed. But you didn't change. You just cleared the path. You just cleaned up the mess. And now you move different. You think different. Because walking alone didn't break you. It sharpened you. And in a world full of confusion, distraction, and noise, clarity is the sharpest weapon a man can. You ever sit in a room full of people and still feel like you're screaming into a void? You ever bleed in front of the world and no one even blinks? That's the moment, right there, that you learn something most never do. Nobody's coming. No cheers, no applause, no helping hand, and yet somehow you still stand. You still rise, and that's when it hits you true strength. It's built when no one's watching, when there's no crowd, no backup, no one feeding your ego or stroking your pride, just you and the fight. People these days, they need constant validation. A like, a follow, a comment, that little hit of approval to keep going. But let me tell you something. Real strength ain't built on validation. It's built in silence, in the grind nobody sees, in the pain nobody understands. It's built in the nights where your chest is tight and your eyes are heavy, but you keep moving anyway. Not because someone told you good job, but because quitting just ain't an option anymore. That's the difference. Most people need support to believe in themselves. They need someone clapping for them, texting them, hyping them up. But what happens when the claps stop? When the silence creeps in? That's when the truth shows up. That's when the strong get separated from the crowd. Because the real ones, the strong ones, they don't need the noise. They don't need the parade. They just go, rain or shine, loved or hated, seen or unseen. You know where real strength is built? In the trenches, when life's throwing punches and there's nobody in your corner. When the people you thought would ride for you vanish. When the ones who said, I got you, are suddenly ghost. And you're left standing there broken and tired, looking at your own two hands like, well, it's just me now. And then you fight anyway. You patch yourself up, you wipe your own damn tears, and you go back out swinging. That's strength, not muscles, not loud words, not some motivational quote on a poster. Strength is when you keep walking with no direction, no cheerleaders, and no damn idea how you're gonna make it. But you walk anyway. You trust the fire inside more than the applause outside. And every step you take alone, it adds up. Brick by brick, scar by scar, until one day you look back and realize you didn't just survive, you built yourself. People say everyone needs someone. Maybe, but what if no one shows up? What if the people you love the most don't believe in you? You gonna crumble? You gonna give up because no one clapped for you? Or are you gonna become someone you don't need to clap for because you already know your worth? That's the path most are too afraid to walk. Because walking without support means owning every inch of your journey, every failure, every misstep, every lonely night. But it also means owning every win, every breakthrough, every moment of glory that nobody saw coming. And when those moments hit, they're sweeter, they're real, because no one gave it to you, you earned it. With grit, with pain, with sleepless nights and a backbone made of every time you refuse to fold. See, strength built without support, it's unshakable because you've already lived through what most fear. You've already stood in the storm without an umbrella. So when the next wave comes, you don't flinch. You don't beg for help. You just smile because you've already been through worse. And you're still here. So let them doubt you, let them disappear, let them stay silent while you suffer. That's fine, because you don't need their voice, you've got your own. You don't need their permission. You've got your purpose. And you sure as hell don't need their support to keep going. You're not strong because of who stood beside you. You're strong because of who didn't, and you rose anyway. You ever notice how uncomfortable people get when someone doesn't need anybody? When someone moves alone, eats alone, thinks alone, it unsettles them, makes them nervous. Because society is built on dependency, on fitting in, on being part of the herd. So when someone breaks that pattern, when someone dares to walk through the fire on their own terms, they get labeled, oh, he's cold, he's antisocial, something's wrong with him. No, nothing's wrong, he just figured it out. See, independence isn't loneliness, it's not bitterness, it's not some tragic story of a man who couldn't make friends. No, it's power. It's control. It's waking up in the morning and not having to answer to anyone, not wondering who's going to approve of your next move, not needing anyone to say you're doing great just to keep going. That kind of freedom, most people never taste it. And the ones who do, society treats them like threats, because here's the truth they'll never say out loud. Independence is danger, not in a violent way, not in a loud way, but in a silent, powerful, untouchable kind of way. When you don't need anyone to validate you, to save you, to complete you, nobody can control you. And society, it loves control. It loves keeping people on leashes made of approval, attention, and fear. You ever wonder why people get uncomfortable when you stop showing up? When you stop oversharing, stop explaining, stop begging for their time? It's because your independence forces them to look at their own dependence. And that mirror, it stings. Because most are terrified of standing on their own. They've built their identities on being part of something, even if that something is fake. So when they see someone who doesn't flinch in solitude, who doesn't crave acceptance, who walks like they've already made peace with their demons, they don't know how to process that. They mock it. They isolate it. They say things like, he thinks he's better than us. No, he just stopped pretending. You see, society sells you this dream. Get liked, get followed, get praised, fit in, blend in, don't make waves, be agreeable. But what they don't tell you is that in the pursuit of fitting in, you'll lose yourself. Piece by piece, smile by smile, until one day you wake up and you can't tell where you end and where everyone else begins. But the independent mind, he doesn't play that game. He says no. He cuts the strings. And when the world says, come this way, he walks the other. Not out of rebellion, but out of truth, his own truth. And you know what? It's not easy. Independence costs you everything fake. You lose people, you lose comfort, you lose the illusion of belonging, but in return, you gain something priceless, yourself. You gain clarity, you gain peace, you gain power that doesn't come from position or popularity. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you'll survive, you'll adapt, you'll move, because you're not leaning on a crutch. You are the crutch. You've become the fire, not just the flame. And look, most won't get it. Most will judge. They'll say you're distant, that you're cold, that you push people away. But you know the truth. You're just protecting your energy. You're guarding your mind. Because you've seen what happens when you let the wrong people in. You've seen what happens when you depend on people who were never meant to be your foundation. So now you move different. You speak less, you watch more. And when you do speak, it's with purpose, not to be heard, but to be understood. You're not trying to fit in anymore, you're trying to build. Build peace, build strength, build something that doesn't shatter when the world turns its back on you. Society fears the man who doesn't flinch when he's alone, the one who doesn't crumble without applause. Because that man can't be bought, can't be bent, can't be broken. He's already walked through hell with nothing but his own shadow and came out smiling. That's not weakness, that's not sadness, that's independence. And it's the most misunderstood and most feared thing in this entire world. That's the costume they give you so you think you're free, while you're chained to approval, to comfort, to people you're scared to lose because you're scared to be alone. But real freedom, real, raw, unshakable freedom, that only happens when you don't need anybody. Not for happiness, not for direction, not for identity. When your world doesn't rise or fall depending on who stays or who walks out. That's when you've made it. And don't get it twisted, this ain't about hate. It's not about shutting people out or walking through life with bitterness in your eyes. Nah, it's about truth. It's about realizing that the moment you start depending on someone else to complete you, to fix you, to hold you together, you're not free. You're a prisoner in a cage you didn't even see yourself walk into. You want to know what freedom feels like? It's waking up and knowing that no matter who texted back, no matter who showed up, no matter what the world threw at you, you're still good. It's walking your path without second-guessing every step. It's knowing your worth without needing a crowd to echo it back to you. Most people are terrified of that kind of freedom because it means facing the mirror. It means looking yourself dead in the eyes with no distractions, no noise, no masks, just you. That's where the fear lives. But guess what? That's also where the power is. See, needing no one doesn't make you cold, it makes you dangerous. Because when you stop needing, you stop begging, you stop chasing, you stop tolerating half-hearted love and half-baked promises. You start walking with a kind of peace that nobody gave you and nobody can take from you. And let me tell you, that drives people crazy. They can't manipulate you anymore. They can't guilt you. They can't dangle their presence like a prize because you're no longer playing the game. You've burned the board. You've learned to play with what's inside, not what's outside. And that makes you the kind of person society doesn't know what to do with. People love it when you're weak. They love when you need them. It makes them feel important. But start standing on your own 2 feet. Start saying, I'm good either way. Suddenly, you're arrogant, you're cold, you've changed. Damn right you did. You had to. 'Cause being dependent nearly destroyed you. It drained you. It broke you down just to keep others comfortable. But now you've built something inside that doesn't shake, doesn't crack, doesn't fall apart when people leave. You've made peace with solitude. You've made a home inside your own skin. And that's not lonely. It's liberating. They won't understand it. They'll try to guilt you for not needing them. Try to paint your strength as pride, your peace as isolation. Let them talk. Let them assume. You know the truth. You know what it took to stop craving validation like it was oxygen. What it took to stop shrinking yourself just to be loved. And once you've tasted that freedom, once you've breathed in the kind of air that doesn't come with chains, you'll never settle again. You won't play small. You won't beg. You won't dance for scraps of love or slivers of attention. Because when the only person you need is yourself, you walk different. You speak with clarity. You move with purpose. And you stop fearing loss because you've already let go of the biggest lie, that someone else is the key to your peace. They'll never tell you this, but here it is. You are the key. You always were. You just had to stop searching for it in other people's pockets. So go ahead. Be the one who doesn't need. Be the one who builds from within. That's not weakness. That's not emptiness. That's freedom. Real, wild, untouchable freedom. And that, my friend, is something this world still doesn't know how to control. So here we are, at the end of it all, and look around. What do you see? Noise, distractions, people pretending to be something just to belong. Everyone wants to be liked, accepted, adored. But me, I learned the hard way, that the more friends you got, the more cracks they find in your armor. The more hands you shake, the more knives you gotta pull out of your back. So I stopped, I stepped back, I watched, and I realized when you got no one to impress, no one to lie to, no one to lean on, that's when you become untouchable. That's when you build real security, not the fake kind, not the one tied to how many contacts are in your phone. I'm talking about the kind that lives in your soul, that walks with you in silence and still stands tall. You know what's funny? They call it lonely, I call it free. They say it's cold, I say it's clarity. Because when you don't need a friend to validate your worth, you finally learn who you are. And let me tell you, that man, the one who stands alone and smiles anyway, that's a dangerous man. That's a man the world can't manipulate, can't scare, can't break. So go ahead, be the villain in their story if you have to. Be misunderstood, be alone, but be secure, because when the dust settles, when the lights go out and all the fake love fades, the man who stood alone, he's the only one still standing. And maybe, just maybe, that's the only kind of man worth being.